Hey, Georgevich here with Job Interview Tools. In this video, I'm going to show you how to write your resume heading. This is pretty easy. It's as simple as putting your name on a piece of paper. So for starters, I've opened up Word. I like to use Microsoft Word. We're going to type in a heading here, sample heading, and I use the example of John Hopkins. And my address, 1200 University Circle, Cleveland, Ohio, my email address, and a phone number. Now, we don't want it left justified like that, so I'm going to highlight this thing and I'm going to center it. And now we've got a heading that's centered in the middle of a page. Next thing I want to do, I've got a little bit more of a gap here than I'd like to have, or a margin at the top. So I'm going to go into page layout. I'm going to adjust my margins. I'm going to go with a custom margin here, and I'm going to go with the top margin of maybe a 0.75. I think I like that. And that's just going to push it up a little bit more and take away some of that white space at the top. Now, to dress up our heading a little bit, I'm going to stick in a line. I'm just going to go over here, insert, and I'm going to go with a shape, a line, and now I've got a line. And then if I go into my line properties here, I can change the color. So I'm going to make mine black, and I'm going to bump up the width here, maybe to 2 points. And then there we go. Now I've got my heading, and I've got a nice little line right underneath it to separate it from the rest of my resume. This is one way to write your heading. This does chew up a little bit more space. Another way to do this is to take your address and your email address and your phone number and put it all on the same line. This will clear up a lot more space in your resume and give you more room for other things. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete the carriage return here. We're going to put all this on the same line, just like that. And what I'm going to do is insert a symbol in between each of these to offer a little bit more separation. So if I go over to symbols, and we'll click on this dot and put a space in there like that. And then I'm just going to copy this, and I'm going to paste it over there. And there. And there you go. You have a perfect heading, looks great, and doesn't use a lot of space. And we can even take this bar, this line here, and push this up a little bit like that. And now you've just written the perfect heading. Okay, that's all there is to writing your resume heading. In the next video, I will show you how to write your job objective statement. A job objective statement is very important because it communicates to an employer the type of job that you're seeking. Now, there is some controversy on whether you should use them or not. Some people feel they're outdated, but I totally disagree. I think it's so much better to communicate upfront to an employer what type of job that you're looking for. That way they don't have to read your entire resume to figure out what you want. Makes sense, right? Yeah, I thought so. So to write your job objective, what I want you to do is ask yourself the following questions here. Basically, what is the title of the job that you're looking for? It could be marketer, it could be accountant, financier, whatever. Just put that down. And then write down what type of work that you want to do. And then in what industry. And now it's as simple as you create a statement that sums up your answers to those questions into a qualifying job objective statement. So let's take a look at, let's look at the wrong way first, because most people do it the wrong way. Here's an example of a weak job objective statement: to work in an ever-challenging environment that will utilize my skills as a controller in the fast food industry. That's not bad, but I think we could do a lot better. I mean, for one, it kind of sounds like what everybody else is doing. A statement like this kind of sounds like everybody else's: to work in an ever-challenging environment. Everybody wants to be challenged and to utilize my skills. It's all just a bunch of cliched phrases. Now here's a better way to write your objective: seeking a controller position in the wholesale foods industry. So what we had before was to work in an ever-challenging environment that will utilize my skills as a controller in the food industry. Or seeking a controller position in the wholesale foods industry. I think that's much better. So let's take a look at what that looks like on our resume. There, you see, we've got objective, seeking a senior controller position in the wholesale foods industry. And that's exactly what it's going to look like. Now, optionally, you can take this objective and you can make those all capitalized like that if you want. Up to you. A resume is all about you and what you want. And that's really about it. Let's take a look at a couple more examples of how you can write your objective. Okay, so let's look at another one here. Here's another example of a weak objective. Results-oriented professional seeks project management position in high-tech manufacturing industry. This is weak because it uses a very cliched phrase, results-oriented. I hate it. Employers hate it. Interviewers hate it. And it's used by everybody on the planet. It's just an awful way to start off any sentence. Everybody's results-oriented. You don't want to go around saying that you are. Instead, talk about the results you deliver. So here's a better way to write that. Objective, seeking a senior project management role in the high-tech manufacturing industry. Simple, right? That's what I thought. It's not too hard. Just put a little bit of thought into it. Got some examples there. Another thing I like about a job objective statement is that it tells prospective employers what type of job that you are looking for. And when you can nail this down yourself, when you know exactly what you're looking for, this is going to help you focus everything else on your resume towards that target job. And it's going to help you write a more focused resume that has a much better chance of getting you the interview, because it's a lot easier to find a job when you know exactly what you're looking for. If you're just out there looking around, you're willing to take anything, then you're lacking focus. And that's going to make it a lot harder for you to find a job. So writing your objective is really one of the most important things you can do before you write your resume, because it's going to help set the stage for the rest of your resume. A lot of job seekers, they just like to write a resume that's going to be a catch-all for all employers, because they want to appeal to everybody. And that's the worst thing you can do. You don't want to appeal to everybody, because when you try to appeal to everybody, you appeal to nobody. You're much better off having a qualifying resume that disqualifies you for certain employers, but makes you highly qualified for other employers. So my advice to you is make the job of the employer a lot easier. Put an objective on there that communicates what you're looking for, what you want to do, and I think you're going to get a much better response rate off of your resume. You're going to get more calls for job interviews than if you had a vague job objective statement up there. In this video, I'm going to show you how to write a skills summary or accomplishment section on your resume. So let's get started. Now, this section is usually a bullet point list of your best skills, but transformed into accomplishments, because you don't want to just list raw skills. You don't want to just say that you have leadership experience, you have management experience. You want to put that into context for the employer so that they can get a better feeling for the depth of your skill. You want to emphasize how you've used it. If you just list raw skills like Microsoft Office or web programming, then you're not saying a lot. You want to say how you've used that skill. And that's where the real value comes in, when you put your skills into context. That makes your skills so much more valuable when you can use it in a statement that describes what you've done with it. And that's going to really validate that you know what you're talking about. Anyone, and a lot of people do, they just dump skills. I've seen people put like 100 skills on their resume before. And when you do that, you dilute everything about yourself, because nobody has 100 things that they're really good at. Maybe you got 5, not 100. So, and if you have 100 and maybe you do know all those things, they're not relevant. They're too minuscule to put on there. All right, so let me ask you this. Let's take a look at a couple of different skill statements, and which one do you think is more powerful here? Now, candidate 1, if someone just put leadership experience on their resume as a skill, or someone said, led a technical team of 17 web developers to design a customer service database application that tracked buying trends for customers and resulted in a 13% increase in year-end sales. Now, which one do you think sounds better? Well, obviously, number two, because they put their leadership experience in the context and they say what they did with it. And that's the key, and that's what you want to do. If you don't do that, you're going to sell yourself short, and you're going to wonder why nobody is calling you for job interviews. Your skills statements should make it easy for an employer to visualize you working for them. And that's what you want. That's when your resume is speaking louder than words. Your skills section also needs to be very tightly focused on the type of job that you're seeking. If you have a bunch of skills up there that aren't relevant to the job that you're applying for, then you're wasting space. You want to use skills that are relevant to the job that you are looking for. That's how you make a strong connection. You also want to avoid, but I've already touched on this a little bit, you want to avoid putting down overused and cliched phrases, results-oriented, goal-oriented. All that stuff doesn't really say much at all. You may think it sounds good, but what you want to do, if you have excellent written skills, then list why you have excellent written skills. Maybe you've written some published works. That would be great. That would tell me you have the ability to write. These phrases, they all sound good, but they just don't carry any weight. And employers know it. They see hundreds and hundreds of resumes, and when you have things on there like that, they just don't carry any weight. So let's take a look at a couple of different skill statements that you can put on there. And I'm going to show you how to take a skill statement and translate it into something that you want to put on your resume. So let's say example one here. Information technology professional with database experience might say, I have been working with SAS and Microsoft SQL. SAS is some kind of database stuff. So to translate that into a statement that you can put under your skills summary, you might say 5 years of team lead experience, hands-on development experience with SAS and Microsoft SQL databases at General Electric. Now that really says something. Let's see what that looks like on a resume. So what we do is we'll start a skills summary statement here. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to start a bullet point list here, and I'm going to say, and there you go. There's our first statement. Okay, let's take a look at another example here. An industrial engineer might write, I've been managing construction and quality control of hydroelectric power plants. So let's translate that into a statement we can put on a resume. You might say, 18 years of professional experience managing quality control of hydroelectric power plants with a 100% accident-free safety record. Doesn't that say a lot more than I've been managing construction of quality control power plants? Yeah, of course it does. I think so. And it really resonates a lot more with employers. So let's put that on a resume. Next line here. And there we go. There's two statements. Now, as you can see, each statement here on my sample resume is kind of different. It's for a different person in a different industry. But I deliberately did it that way just so I could give you a different example for each statement that we create. And I think we have a better chance of reaching out to more people versus just having one resume that's laser focused on one particular profession. This way we can have one resume that's geared towards maybe 20 professions and everybody can feel a little bit more like they're a part of it. So let's take a look at another example here. Let's say you're an administrative assistant. You might write that you have excellent communication skills, you're a good problem solver, and you take pressure off of your superiors. So let's translate that over into a usable statement we can put on a resume. Reputation for being patient, a resourceful problem solver, and directed the implementation of an email integrated voicemail system that helped increase revenue by 27%. So let's add that to our resume. We'll see what it looks like. And there we go. We have 3 bullets, pretty good bullets under our skills summary that are accomplishment based, that clearly demonstrate we know what we're talking about. And in this case, we know a little bit about everything. So that's all I have on writing a skills summary. You can also title this an accomplishment section if you want to, either way. But the key here when you're writing your skills summary is you want to pack it full of quantifiable accomplishments so that it grabs the attention of your employer and makes them want to keep reading your resume. Ideally, you should have 4 to 6 bullet points on your resume right underneath your objective. And that's all I have on writing your skills summary. In this video, I'm going to show you how to write your work experience on your resume. So let's get started. Now, in this section, I'm going to teach you how to write your work experience in a way that's going to help you impress employers so they call you for an interview. With a lot of cases, people just, they don't know how to write their work experience statement, and they send out their resumes and nobody ever calls them. So I'm going to teach you how to do it so that people call you, because that's really what you want, right? You want the interview. So ideally, your resume shouldn't be any more than 1 page long. Now, unless you have a lengthy career, then you can go ahead and go to 2 pages. If you go beyond 2 pages, those resumes tend to be better suited for scientific positions, people in the world of academia, and things like that. Now, your work experience is probably the most critical section on your resume. It's where you get to show off your skills and your strengths and your accomplishments in much greater detail than you did in your skills summary. Now, your work history section is going to signal your previous track record of past performance to a potential employer. It's going to highlight all the things that you're good at doing, and it's going to show an employer how long you've been working and basically what you're best at doing. Under each job, you want to write down everything that you did, no matter how big or how small. Now, if you filled out the resume worksheet exercise in one of the previous videos, you'll want to take all that information from there, and that's where in this section we're going to use that information and we're going to turn it into work experience statements. If you don't have that resume worksheet guide, there should be a link at the bottom of this video where you can download it. So I suggest that you do that, get it filled out, because that's what we're going to be working from in this video. Okay? Now, one thing to keep in mind here, and I'm going to emphasize this, employers don't care about your past daily duties. They don't care. It doesn't matter to them. Yet most people write their resume like a job description. Instead, what you want to do is make an accomplishment-based resume. That's what's going to get you results. That's what's going to get employers calling you. So you should have already filled out the resume worksheet that I talked about, and that's going to have all of your accomplishments, your contributions, awards, achievements, and stuff like that. And now we're going to use this AR formula here to transform all of the things that you've done into accomplishment statements. And it's very simple. What was the action that you did to solve a problem? What were the results? Was it a number that was achieved? Was it a dollar figure? Was it a milestone? It doesn't really matter. And then how did the company benefit from the results of your actions? So it's a very simple formula, yet very powerful. So let's walk through it and see how it works. Let's say, for example, let's say you worked for an insurance company and you were responsible for reducing claims. Instead of saying responsible for claims management accountability, what you want to do is start your accomplishment off with a good action verb like reduced. Then tell them specifically what you reduced. Not just claims, but customer claims. Then tell them the benefit of your actions, which is how much you reduce the claims, which is 21%. Now, I just made that up, but I don't want you to make things up. I'm just making them up for the purpose of this example. And then you want to end your statement with, how did you do it? And by improving management accountability is how you did it. So when you're all done, you have a powerful and specific achievement statement like this. Reduced customer claims 21% by improving claims management accountability. Very powerful. Let's take that and add it to our resume so we can see what that looks like. So we're going to start our work experience section off here. We're just going to call it experience. And we're going to go ahead and bold that. And then our company that we worked at. So I'm going to list the name of the company. And then I'm going to put So I listed the name of the company. I'm going to list my position. And then I'm going to list my employment dates. I'm going to say I worked there from 2014 to present, because I'm still there. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go like this. And then I'm just going to bold everything like this. And there we go. American Insurance Company, Claims Manager. There's my date of employment. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to list some of the cool things that I did. And then we're going to put our first bulleted work experience statement. And that is reduce customer claims with 21%. And then we'll move on to the next. Now, like I say here, if you can't make fit what you want to say into this AR formula, then you're probably not writing an achievement statement, but instead a job description. I mean, you can have some job description statements on your resume, but you really want to minimize them because they carry very little weight with employers. Job description statements are like review expense reports and approve, monitor accounts receivable, responsible for payroll, fix the copy machine. That's not what you want to have on your resume. You don't want to have a job description. The key to writing powerful statements on your resume is to use action words or verbs near the beginning of the statement, like we did. We used reduced, very powerful. You also want to write what you did to achieve the results. Use proven and measurable results by listing the value of those results. It's also a good idea, if you can, to quantify your results and use some numbers. Avoid using whole numbers because they tend not to be as believable. You know, I increased productivity by 100%. Not very believable, but if you say you increase productivity by 17%, wow, that sounds a lot more believable. So let's take a look at some examples of some good work experience statements. Increase line capacity 29% by leading a cross-functional team to improve the manufacturing of telescopic hydraulic cylinders. Very detailed, very specific, has numbers in it, has a strong action verb that says we increased. Here's another way a good one, developed. Start off the statement with a strong action verb like developed, and implemented cost controls, which were tested by Deloitte, and they placed us in compliance. Very good. Here's another beautiful one. This one has numbers in it. We managed and monitored service delivery for multiple online, web-based learning industry products, resulting in $2.5 million in sales. Beautiful stuff. Beautiful. Love it, love it. Here's another one. Created and streamlined project documentation, resulting in a 33% reduction in end-user training. So let's take a few of these and let's drop them on our resume so we can see what they look like. And there we go. Under the American Insurance Company as a claims manager, we have 5 different bullets. That's probably the least I would want to have with my most recent job. I would go no more than 10. Between 5 and 10 is a good number. And then we'd start off with our next company that we worked at. And let's say our previous company was, let's just go with Geico. And let's say we were just an agent. And we worked there from 2010 to 2014. We'll bold all these, and I like to stick my dates just off to the side like that. We might want to say we might want to say claims agent. Claims agent there, that looks nicer. Now, optionally, you can put where the company was located. So like American Insurance Company, we could say Cleveland, Ohio. That's where I live. And there we go. And then we just do the same thing under here with more bullets. We'll just stick these under here just for, and there we go. So so if we go to the beginning of our resume here, we have our heading, we have our objective, we have our skills summary, we have our experience, we have 2 companies under there that we worked for, and that's really all there is to it. So on average, you should have about 6 to 10 work experience statements for your most recent job. For subsequent jobs, you generally don't want to have as many. Maybe 4 to 7 is more appropriate. It really depends. If it's a very recent job within the last 5 years, then maybe you do have more for a second job that you had. Now, like I said, these are just guidelines. I mean, ultimately, whatever number of statements you need is the right number. I mean, if you need 12, then you need 12. I might ask you to try to refine a couple of those and get it down to 9. But, if you really feel you need 12, do that. If you only have 5, then go with 5. Whatever fits. But I urge you to avoid putting down statements that demonstrate skills that are not relevant to the job you're applying. That's one of the biggest resume killers people have, is they've got skills that aren't relevant to the job they're applying to. I mean, maybe, just for example, maybe you were a banker and you worked in finance and you did consumer loans, and now you're applying for a job as a salesman in a manufacturing industry. It doesn't really fit, so you don't want to talk about all your financial skills. You want to talk about transferable skills, things that you did in your past job that could be related to things you would have to do in this job if they were to hire you. And think about this. I can't say this enough. If you write your resume based on the job you have, you're going to end up getting the same job you have right now. But if you write your resume for the job you want, you'll have a much better chance of getting something new. All right, that's all I have for you on writing your work experience. Now, there's a lot more to this. I mean, I've just covered the basics with you in this video. In the Resume Masterpiece, I go into a lot more detail. I mean, I've got a 90-page book that details all the different ins and outs of writing your work experience. But what I've given you here today should be sufficient to get you through the resume writing process in the shortest amount of time. So in the next video, we're going to talk about writing your education section. Now, typically, your education section goes after your work experience, which is at the end of your resume. There are other places to put your education. You can move it up to the beginning, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to go with standard placement, which is at the bottom of your resume. It's pretty easy to do. You want to start off and just make a list of all your training and education that's relevant to the job. If you've already downloaded my resume writing worksheet, then you've already done that step. You filled out the worksheet and you know all the information I'm asking for that you need to write your section. If you don't have this, there should be a link at the bottom of this video where you can click and get that PDF worksheet, download it, fill it out, and then this section will probably make a lot more sense to you. But there isn't a lot to writing your education section. I'm really just going to show you by example here. And here's a few different examples of what an education section could look like. We have a title here called Education. We have a BA in Business Administration from the Ohio State University in Columbus, Ohio in 1998. Simple as that. If you had a pretty fancy GPA that you wanted to show off, you could put, comma, GPA, 4.0. You could also put, magna cum laude if you graduated with honors things like that, like we did here. Masters of Business Administration and Finance from Baldwin Wallace College, magna cum laude. It's as simple as that. There's no real set way to doing this. You can do it any way you want. Here's another example here. This person here, they have a BA in French and International Relations from Pennsylvania. They have another one here. They actually went to Paris. They have a certificate, a commercial certificate in 1987. Your education section, you can list certificates, any kind of training or college education that you have. Now here's a good example of one where they didn't graduate yet. They have expected completion date in 2018. And here's another one here, University of Washington, expected completion date. Very optimistic there. But it's really kind of whatever you want. You're just telling them, where you went to school, what you've done. When you're listing your degree, for example, Bachelor of Arts, you can say BA, B period A, or just spell out Bachelor of Arts. It really doesn't matter. This statement here, understand the market for your skills and avoid appearing overqualified. So let's say you have a master's degree and you're applying for jobs that don't require a master's degree. That master's degree could end up hurting you. It really depends. In some cases, you might even want to take it off. Right here, consider listing all non-college education, such as training, certifications, achievements. You can put them directly under your education section. I mean, optionally, you can create a new section, but I don't really think you need to. This is putting it all under your education section is going to save you some space on your resume because it's going to fill up rather quickly. Now, what if you don't have a college degree? I get asked this a lot. In my book, experience speaks louder than education. I've seen many job seekers who don't have any college degrees making a lot of money. And all they have is a high school diploma as their only formal education. I mean, not having a college education or a bachelor's degree can prevent you from moving up the corporate ladder if you're working in a big company like IBM, ExxonMobil, or something like that. If you're going to move into management and things like that, you're going to want to have a bachelor's or master's degree. But for you to get by, you really don't need a college education. Smaller companies, I found smaller companies to not be as concerned with college education as larger companies. They're more concerned with people who can deliver results, who want to work hard and help the company grow while helping themselves advance their careers. But don't get me wrong. I mean, a college degree gives you a huge advantage in your career, but it's not an absolute requirement. There are just so many other ways around it that if you don't have it, I wouldn't worry about it. Now, if you feel you don't have any education to list, I really urge you to put something under your education section. Even if you only went to college for, 1 quarter, just list that you attended college. And, you don't have to say that you graduated. Obviously you didn't, but you can say that you went there. List any kind of experience, or not experience, but list any type of training or seminars that you've been to, or home study courses, or anything that's related to the types of jobs that you're looking for. All of this is going to help. Other ideas are associations, achievements, professional training, and certifications. Now, optionally, if you don't have any college work at all and you just don't feel good about listing an education section, then just change your education section to professional training or professional development, and that will work just as well. So let's go ahead and add education to our resume, and this should pretty much complete it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to list my education here. And then you don't want to bullet point your education. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say we went to the University of Washington. We have a bachelor's degree in business administration, and we graduated with honors. Why not? And there we go. Our resume is a perfect one-page resume. Actually, we have a little bit more space on there. But this is just a sample, and the real deal tends to push the envelope on 2 pages pretty quickly. Okay, that's all there is to it. There's 5 simple sections to your resume. You have your heading, which we did. You have an objective. You have a skills summary, your experience, and your education. That's all there is to it. So now it's up to you to go and write your resume. With what you've learned here today, I think you're going to write a resume that will truly impress any employer who reads it, and you're going to find that you have employers calling you like crazy for jobs. Now, I have other resources for you that I'm going to list at the bottom of this video. Some of the other resources I have for you are the 30-minute resume. This is a collection of resume templates that you can look at and use to help you write your own resume. This is a short little ebook. You can download it. I'll put the link underneath this video for you. All you got to do is put in your email address so I know where to send the book to. And it's pretty simple. It's got several different resumes in it from, we've got finance, we've got information technology, we've got management template, what else in here? A teaching template. So I think there's 5 different resumes in here, and all these are going to help you to write a better resume for yourself when you can see what other people are doing. So this is great. This is the 30-minute resume. The other tool I have for you is called Fix Your Resume in 15 Minutes. Fix Your Resume in 15 Minutes is a collection of tricks and some techniques you can use to make your resume stand out. It's kind of a way to go through your resume and find out and discover all the things that you're doing wrong, that need improvement. And so I cover all those strategies. Talk about how a resume is not a confession, how to avoid being overqualified, how to read the job description before you send your resume, volunteerism, appropriate fonts, all kinds of stuff. There's just so much more about resumes that I can cover in these short little videos that I'm doing for you. So that's why I wrote these other books, Fix Your Resume in 15 Minutes. And I'll put the link for this ebook below the video so you can go ahead and download that as well. And that's all I have for you today. This is Georgevich with Job Interview Tools. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.